I know a few good stories. They take place in a corner of America that might seem familiar, yet still manages to surprise. The settings are spectacular, the characters compelling, the action exciting, the plot lines unpredictable. I'm Tom Richardson. Join me as I explore New England's great outdoors, from Candlewood Lake, Connecticut to Caribou, Maine, from the beaches of Cape Cod to the peaks of New Hampshire's White Mountains. The stories are waiting. Let's live them on Explore New England. Explore New England is brought to you by your New England Ford dealers, Down East Magazine, the magazine of Maine, and Visit New England. When you include its west and south branches, the Penobscot is Maine's second longest river system, flowing for 264 miles from the heart of the north-central Maine wilderness to Penobscot Bay. As it flows generally east and south, the river wears different faces, from a crashing Class 5 whitewater run to a gentle tidal estuary. In this episode, we'll explore 3 different sections of the Penobscot, starting with the west branch of the river a few miles below the Ripogenus Dam, where, in 2019, I enjoyed a fly fishing trip with celebrated guide Dan Legier. Dan is well known for his fishing prowess, and in 2015 he was honored by the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries with the Wilmot Wiggy Robinson Legendary Guide Award. He also happens to be one of the first people to employ the use of Western-style drift boats on big Maine rivers, and we launched his 16-foot hide on a gorgeous July morning on the storied landlocked salmon pool known as the Big Eddy.
CEO and so on, and oh yeah,
A little bit better.
One day my father put me out on a stream and said, I'll meet you down at the next pool, and with a fly rod with a Royal Coachman, I think it was, and there was a hatch. Every fish in the pool was going after my fly, and it was that day that I actually learned how to hook trout, and I caught a limit of trout right there. The reason why I moved to Greenville and the reason why I live here is because I can leave my house in downtown Greenville and in 15 minutes be on a wild trout pond all by myself. Within 1 hour radius of our shop in Greenville, there's over 40 trout ponds. And then that doesn't count the rivers and all the lakes and everything else. It's just unbelievable. We live in a little wilderness community. We call it wilderness community. It doesn't take you 10 minutes to be off by yourself, be on a dirt road and find solitude. I'll pick the second one. I'm right about 50% of the time. I go, oh no, he took the first one, and you keep bringing him in.
All right. That's a beauty right there.
Very nice.
Nice.
That's one way of doing it is just, yep, you got it. You're good.
Wow.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah,
man.
Nice.
Thank you. Well, that was the fish we were looking for.
That was the one.
Yeah, well, maybe we can get maybe a bigger one?
We'll keep trying.
Okay. I love it when a guide says that. It's amazing how quickly time passes when you're on the river, and before I knew it, it was time for lunch. One of the great pleasures of a full-day drift boat trip is the shore lunch ritual, and Dan had quite a meal in store. Well-fed and content, It was almost hard to leave our sunny spot amid the pines, but the salmon were calling, and so we returned to the river and the mission at hand.
There we go. That's a trout. You think so?
While salmon make up the majority of fish found in the Penobscot, the river is also home to brook trout, and Dan knew of a special spot where they could reliably be caught.
What my granddaughter calls it. This is a par. Not old enough to get colors.
Yeah, that helps. Yay! Look at that. That is a beautiful fish. Thank you, fish. At around 4 o'clock, we pulled into our takeout spot on the side of the river, where Dan hauled his boat and, after dropping me off at the Big Eddy, headed south along the Golden Road toward his home in Greenville. The next stop on our Penobscot journey takes us to the river's midsection in the town of Lincoln, roughly 15 miles south of the confluence of the east and west branches. The river along this section is much slower, warmer, and shallower than the west branch, and provides the perfect habitat for smallmouth bass. To see if I could catch a few, I enlisted the help of guide Zach Glidden, who launched his drift boat at a dirt ramp in North Lincoln.
So I love fishing. I think it's just growing up in Maine. You know, that's what my father did. I mean, that's the time we spent with him, you know. He worked nights, and so we never saw him much except for on the weekends. We always went fishing, and I think that was the start of it from there. And it just, you know, went on throughout my life, and it's a great hobby, it's a great pastime, great stress reliever. That's why I love fishing myself. Come on. Runner.
Fish number 2.
Oh, nice fat one.
That is. Fatty.
Fish on.
Yep, there we go.
Nantucket sleigh ride.
He's gonna jump. Nice. You're right, in this deep hole. The middle section of the Penobscot is loaded with prime smallmouth structure, including submerged rocks, deep holes, shaded and undercut banks, overhanging tree limbs, weed beds, logs, and the mouths of feeder creeks. In short, you're likely to find fish almost anywhere. We drifted through that long weed bed. And now we're at the end of this island here?
Yeah, so we come down the weed bed to the tail end of the island. We got the water coming around. Hey, there he is.
Guess what? As if on cue. Oh,
nice.
God. Little guy. So, yeah, so explain this spot that we anchored up here.
So the tail end of the island, we got a bunch of ledge coming out from shore. The water coming around and then down off the weed flats. Get a nice deep hole here. Hold some nice fish.
Yeah, how deep is it?
We're probably looking at about 15 feet. So in a river that's only 4 to 8, 15's a nice hole.
Sure. Nice. So you know what? I'm telling you, he inhaled that thing again. He was right in that deep hole. He seemed to make it okay.
Yeah.
After catching several fish on spin gear and soft plastic tube lures, I decided to see if these fish would take a fly. My pattern of choice? The venerable Sneaky Pete slider. The reaction was immediate. The smallmouth action we found on the Penobscot was phenomenal, and we took fish at will on both spin and fly gear all along the 8 miles of river we drifted that morning. Perhaps more remarkable was that we only saw one other person the entire time. It was an eye-opening experience, and I vowed to return to this relatively untapped stretch of the Penobscot. Wow, Chloe, this is a magnificent sight on the river. Unbelievable.
We were so lucky that the town of Old Town allowed us here and is happy to have us here on some of their public land. And it's in this beautiful copse of trees.
The third leg of our Penobscot River exploration begins just north of Old Town, in the town of Milford. It was here, at the Costigan boat launch, that I met up with David Tannhauser and Chloe Chun, founders of the Penobscot River Paddling Trail, which extends from Medway at the junction of the east and west branches of the river to Penobscot Bay, a distance of some 100 miles. David and Chloe, along with the help of numerous volunteers and support from various landowners and other groups, have created a series of campsites along the river that the paddling public is free to use as they make their way downstream. It's an amazing resource, and one that's still not widely known.
We're going to go down the Penobscot River 5 or 6 miles. We're going to turn west onto the Stillwater branch of the Penobscot, go about a half mile, and that's where our campsite is.
Okay, and how far apart are the campsites spaced?
We shoot for about every 10 miles.
Okay, because that's like a typical, average paddler would do about 10 miles?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean, really, in a morning, you can do 10 miles.
Yeah, especially if you're going with the current.
Right. That's the only way we go.
After launching our canoe and kayak, we set off downstream toward Old Town. Along the way, we passed several small islands in the middle of the river, all property of the Penobscot Nation. Although inviting places to rest or enjoy lunch, these islands are off limits without special permission. Well, it's gorgeous. I can't believe we're out here and there's no other boats, no other paddlers, no other people.
Right.
It's really amazing.
We sometimes see deer. We see a lot of eagles.
Do you get eagles down on this stretch of the river?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure we'll see them.
I'm thrilled to see all these beautiful native species growing here. Up there, the red berries of winterberry, and they will be with us all winter, even after the leaves fall off. And then closer down, we have meadowsweet. It's a spirea.
After paddling south for roughly 2 miles, we hung a right off the Maine River and entered a side channel shown on maps as the Stillwater River, but which is actually a branch of the Penobscot that flows around Orson Island in Old Town. A few hundred yards downstream, near a spot called Twin Islands, we spied the bright yellow sign marking the location of our home for the night. Wow, Chloe, this is a magnificent sight on the river. Unbelievable.
We were so lucky that the town of Old Town allowed us here and is happy to have us here on some of their public land. And it's in this beautiful copse of trees and lots of flat places for tents.
Boy, I'll tell you, they can't beat the view.
No, you sure can.
Oh,
Isn't
it's really
it
fantastic.
lovely?
It is, it's fantastic. And it's all, I can't believe it's like, you know, the public can just come here for free, and
Yeah,
it's great.
That's right.
In this day and age,
Public
it's like,
access, yeah. We're very lucky that we got to have it here.
so here's your guest book, huh?
Right.
It's I gotta say, it's a little damp, but
It is.
so the entries are pretty recent. They're all 2021, really.
Right.
Great fishing, they say.
Good.
Good thing I brought my rod.
Right. You better get out
I
there.
better get out there. There is terrific fishing all along the Penobscot, especially for smallmouth bass, which were introduced in the early 1900s and have flourished. After spending a peaceful night on the river, David, Chloe, and I enjoyed a hearty breakfast and headed back to the main stem of the Penobscot.
This is Indian Island, and we'll paddle here, and this is Orson Island, and that's smooth water. Over here to the Old Town boat launch.
Which we followed to our takeout spot just above the Milford Dam.
The Penobscot River was deeply polluted for many years, so that people a little older than I am would say, I would never go in the Penobscot, it stank. And over time, the river's cleaned up. 2 dams have been taken down, and it seemed like the time to have a river trail on the Penobscot.
You know, it was the scene of so much in the past, and it was really polluted, as David said, with lots of lumbering. And the river was so full of logs at times that the Penobscot Indians couldn't even get their canoes launched or back to shore. And so we weren't expecting such a wild and scenic river. Now eagles and osprey and great blue herons all along the way, lots of fish. The ratings of the water quality have been raised over time in the last 20 years because of the improving water quality.